Okay, so this is a video showing how to design user interfaces on Android, which is quite confusing at the beginning but then gets very natural. And I'm just going to do the process. I haven't prepared anything, but I'm just going to do it and record it and talk about it, show you basically how it's done. So this is what I'm trying to make, and all of the graphics are supplied from the iOS version, and this is a screenshot from the iOS one, and I just have to clone it. You find yourself doing this a lot in Android at the moment anyway. So main problem is I can't record both of my screens really and affect it and keep the resolution readable. So I'm always going to be looking at this interface here on the other screen. I can't really leave it here. Maybe I can if I shrink Eclipse a little bit. Right, that's not too bad. So first thing you want to do is choose a layout. So no, the first thing you want to do is actually make a file, which I've done here. I've called it hc_login screen.xml. So to do that, you go layout, new file, and then you type it in there, and you make sure it says .xml too, because if you don't do that, then Eclipse can crash and go weird. So then your file will be made, and it'll have an X next to it because it's an empty file that's supposed to contain something, but it doesn't yet. So then you click on it and you go to graphical layout, and you're going to choose your first thing. So I'm going to choose here linear layout vertical, and the reason for that is if you look at the interface here, it appears to be that the quickest and easiest way would just be to layer things on top of each other vertically down the screen. You might not always make the right decision at the beginning, and also you might have to change it and stuff, but this one's quite simple. So I've dropped that in, you drag it and drop it into there, and then it appears. And if you click on this XML thing, you can see that some XML has been generated for you, and you can edit all this by hand if you wish, or you can do it using the graphical tool, which is much better than it used to be, but still not the greatest thing in the world, which is why I'm making this video. And there's a bug, I don't know why, every time you do a vertical layout it comes up as a horizontal layout, so you have to change it manually. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get the background in. So you just use this linear layout for the background, and you click on these are all the different parameters you can do, and the background one is here. So you click on that and you check what your background is. Mine is called default_2x, that's because the file has come from an iPhone build and I've renamed it a little bit to make it work. So you just type in here default, click on it, click OK. There's your background sorted. Next thing I want to do is add and text views for this text, and I don't have the font yet. We'll just use the standard one for now. So what do I want to do? I go to form widgets, and you take the text view there and you just drop it in. Now you can see the text view there in the corner. You can zoom in a bit with this. You can also see that the XML has been generated for that text view. Now the first thing you want to do is give it a good ID. Like this is what, when you try and access it in the code, you need to reference this ID to instance it as an object, so you can call my text view dot set text or whatever. So you're going to call it something meaningful. And because there's a different font in use for that word welcome, and it's a bit bigger, I'm going to make its own text field. So I'm just going to call this one Welcome TV. TV for text view. They're not actually called text fields in Android. And I'm going to set the text, and you can do all this manually in the editor as well, but just for now I'll type it in there because it's quicker. And you click on the graphical layout, and you can see it says welcome. Now obviously the text has got to be white and bold, so my text color, you got to use HTML style, so you do hash FFF FFF, that is the hexadecimal code for white in HTML, and you can use any of the colors you want, and you can even go into Photoshop and click on one and do that, and then that is your code. You can copy that, so you can use any color you want from Photoshop just by taking that in and entering it like I did with the FFF. Now bold text style, I think that is, yeah, you click on text style and you double click bold, and there it is, a lot bolder. Photoshop. Now as you can see, the word welcome is indented, everything is indented in a border, so the best way to do that would be this gap I'm talking about around the edge. Click on the linear layout and you go down to the padding, and you just go, I don't know, for now I'll put 30 in there and use DP, which means well, you can use DIP, but there's no point really. DP's fine, and that means density independent pixels, which is sort of allows you to design something, and it's it pretty much works on all resolutions if you do that, because the OS works out how many real pixels are required to do that. So it's pretty nice. As a rule of thumb, you should always use DP as opposed to pixels, because you don't know what size it is, and you might as well let the OS do all the hard work. So already it's looking not bad. So now we'll add the text underneath welcome. Oops, I've put the padding on the TV. I didn't mean to do on the text field, didn't mean to do that, but do it on the linear layout, so it affects the whole thing and not just that one element, because anything inside the linear layout gets the padding. So essentially if I click on the, well, you can't see it actually, but the linear layout padding is basically there, so there's create a gap around the edge. Now I want another text field underneath, so I just copy that and paste that, just make another one, and you can move these down using plus and minus on your number pad. I'll move that down, and I'm going to call this one welcome text TV, just to keep them relatively meaningful. And the text in there is just nonsense Greek text, dummy text placeholder, so I guess I'll just do some of that. What I usually do is just type something describing what it is, so you can test it even without data. So here I would type, this is where the main text talking about logging in goes, and it needs to be able to span a few lines, possibly 3 lines, and that's about it really. Now the purpose is just to give me some text so I can see what it looks like, and that looks quite nice. Now there's no reason, see there's a few bugs in this editor. I deleted that padding before, but turns out that Eclipse is a bit lame in my personal opinion. And now the padding off the linear layout's gone. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it's so buggy after all this time. It was a lot worse in the past. Right, so why's that got padding? Shouldn't do. it's still there. I've deleted that. Now these sorts of bugs can really make life a nightmare, although I've never actually seen that one happen, but it could be Eclipse messes up. I have to keep killing it and reloading it, which I think I'm going to have to do now, because you can see how slow it's going. And you can check the thing here. If you look at it, it's always, obviously Bandicam's using 30% for this, but no, the CPU's not actually that bad. You can see the memory is right up though, 535 megabytes. That's not, it's not insane. So I'm going to save that and kill Eclipse and reload it, and I'll pause this video while that happens. Okay, I'm back. I'm smoking now, but Eclipse should be working. Let's get rid of this. So you go back to the graphical layout. Click on the linear layout. You can do this. It sometimes just doesn't work. I think if you go out like that, it works. Yeah. Okay, so the padding should go on the linear layout. There we go. I don't know what the hell's going on, but that padding's not going. So I'm just going to cut and paste it into here instead. You really shouldn't have to. Oh, I'm going to get rid of that one as well. Right, so the only thing we want padding on is that linear layout at the top. For now at least. And there it is, it's working now. Right, that looks about right. There's a little gap between welcome and this main text, and we'll address that by using more padding. So you can just put padding at the bottom of this one. Just for now, let's say 5 dp. We'll also take the bold off this other text so it stands out, and so it doesn't look like it's as bold as the other one. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I've never seen this happen. It's swapping the variables. It's doing different things. I don't understand that. Typical, really. Yeah, it's changing the other ones, but it shouldn't be. I wonder if it's because they both got welcome in it, but that can't be right. Let's just put no, welcome TV, welcome text TV. That's got to be fine. I'm going to clean the project. Really shouldn't have to do this. And like I said, this is not a very common one. I've never really seen this. That's it. Project clean. Could be the screen capture program doing this, but I don't really know why that would happen. Well, for now I'm going to call this A and this B. This video is fast turning into how to get around Eclipse's nonsense, rather than how to design a UI, but I guess it's all part of it really. But that one there, it's got bold, and that one there doesn't. Oh, it seems to be working now. Right, and the padding on that one at the bottom should be 5 dp, yeah. Looks about right, I guess, for now. Now we need this place where they enter their email, so you go up to text fields. Well, they do call them text fields here. You pick the relevant one, which is the one like that, with the user at domain. And when you drop it in at the right place like that, it'll appear. And all the padding is all sorted for you. Now the edges of that text field is curved in the picture, and I'm not sure whether that's an iOS thing, I'm guessing it is, or whether I need to do that, but I'm not going to do that for now because you can spend so long cloning an iOS thing, and then you find out like it didn't need to be like that. It should be standard Android. So you can leave those things. I think EMS can curve the edges somehow, or something. There is a way you find it on Stack Overflow. Now you'll see it's too close, so we want padding at the bottom of the second text view as well to push that text field down. Padding bottom. That's a bigger one, so I'm going to put 30 dp just to see what happens. And now it's doing that exact bug. It's just padded the text field when I'm not touching the text field. Maybe I'll have to right click, maybe I have to double click or something now. It really doesn't make sense. No, it's messing up badly even after I quit. I'm going to pause the video and try and fix this. Okay, I quit the window. I closed this window with that X and reopened it, and it seems to be alright. Although maybe it's because I posted a video. Anyway, give this edit text here a name, and we'll call that email address ET. I'm going to change these back to welcome TV and welcome text TV. And these all have to be lowercase, which is a bit annoying. You can use underscores, I think, but they're not really that important. But obviously they're as important as any variable name, I guess. As long as you can remember what you've done and keep the convention the same, so you never get into trouble. Now you copy and paste this text field, right, and then you get this edit text appearing. And it appears at the top when you do that, so use the plus key on your number pad, move it down, and give this a new ID. Call this one password ET. In fact, it's a different type, so it's probably quicker to delete that and drag in the password one. So I'll delete that, and I'll go to text fields. This one's for passwords, the one with the dots on, and then I'll quickly name it again. Password ET. And then I go back into the graphical layout. You can see there's a gap between the two text fields on here. Now that again could be an iOS thing, so for now I'm going to leave it and move on to the next bit where you have this text here, which I presume is saying if you forgot your password, and then a button to click to log in. And you can see they're evenly split between 50-50 of the space width-wise. So the best way to do this is to actually take another layout. This time you take the horizontal layout and you place it inside the other layout. So you can drag it here, you see how that black line appears, that'll put it underneath. So now you've got a vertical layout, or a horizontal one, vertical, inside that, and you can see it's got nothing in it yet. And it needs a button for logging in, so I'm going to put that in first. You go to images and media, and you can find image button, drop that in, and now it's asking for an image to put on the image button. So you go to your assets or wherever they are, and you pick them up. So I'm just going to take the highest resolution version of everything, and this is specifically for people who come from iOS to Android, like when they're making a GUI, but it's basically the same. Oh, I see they have actual images here for the text fields, so they probably will expect me to use them, in fact. So I might come back to that in a bit, but I'll take the login button. What I'll do is I'll copy it into my code, and my project, and then res, and then I always just use XHDPI. The main reason being is you don't have to maintain two versions of all of your, or lots of versions of all of your assets, you just use this one always, and then Android will scale it automatically for you. And that's a good little trick, so you don't have to go through the nightmare of maintaining all these assets. And now it won't know that this image is in here yet because it needs to refresh, and actually when you save it refreshes. So let's save and then go back to source up here. It's got the default one in, but now we can just type the name of the file, which was login. No, it's not there. I'm going to refresh the res directory, resources directory. I'm going to try again. Still not there. Sometimes Eclipse decides it's going to need the exact name, which is a bit annoying. Ah, it should be there, right? It should be bg underscore login. Let's try that. bg. Appears as search when he works in the beginning. Sometimes Eclipse is full of that. That works. And now you can see the background needs to be transparent, so that's easy. Hit hash, and then now you want 8 zeros because there's 6 zeros for black, and then 2 more for, well, the 2 at the beginning are for transparency as far as I'm aware. So 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Press enter, and that becomes transparent. Now, as you can see, it's on the wrong side, and the way to do that is to just add the text to the left of it, and that'll force it over. So go to Form Widgets, Text View, and drop in a text view just in the beginning of the other layout, the last layout you made, there you can see. And we'll populate its text with some, oops, what happened there? With something like, oh, just type what they have there. Login, the getting of Dien Wagt Worden Bod Beschickbar. There you go. Didn't know I could speak Greek. And it's black, so we want it to go white just briefly. So you go up here and you press that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 6 Fs. And now you can see that actually our other button has been lost because of the width of that text field. And they have a concept in Android called weight, where you have to use the weight to move things along. Sorry, I got distracted there. You have to use the weight to tell it how much of the layout it's allowed. So here we want them to take 50% each, and for that you actually go to weight, and I'm going to pause this because someone's messaging me. Okay, yeah, like I was saying, you need to use weight. I'm trying to find weight. There it is, in layout parameters. We want them to take 50-50, so you just give them a 1 each. They both take the same weight, and then that's means that they both take half, which is strange because it's actually taking more than it should. That's because you've got wrap content on. Wrap content will try and wrap the content, obviously, and that's why the text feels like that. So you will actually go to fill parent, meaning it will take up 100% of whatever it's given, and then do the other one the same, fill parent. Then with the same weight, they both should sit, yeah, that's it, sit nicely like that. I think it's 50-50, yeah, and we've got to make that font a little bit less. It seems too big when you look at the preview there. Or that screen could just be wider. Either way, we'll go to the text size, and let's say 11 SP is the one for fonts, but it's generally the same as DP. Now I'm thinking that login button might be supposed to take up slightly less of the thing than it is. I don't know, because what is that, not much? Well, I think the best solution is to make the font 10 SP. and there you go, that seems to match. And it has an underline. Now I don't know if I've ever done that in without the code, using code, but I wonder if there is an option here these days. Maybe there's probably a simple way to underline it. And the best way to find out is to go to just type Android underline text XML, and Stack Overflow will save your ass. Now here they're telling you how to do it in the code and the string, so I guess you can't do it in the XML. No, you can't do it in XML, that's fine, you can do it in code. Right, okay. Now we want that to move down a bit. Actually, them two buttons, they're way too two things are way too close to the password text field, so we just use padding on the layout that's containing them, this other linear layout, and we do it at the top. Let's try 30 dp. Looks about right. I'm thinking I might give the image button a slightly less space than the text field, because this looks a bit weird. And to do that, you can just change its weight to 2, which means it's got the text field's got 1 and the weight, and the other one's got 2, which makes it less. You would think it was the other way around, but that's the way it works. So for instance, if I wanted in between somewhere, I can say 1.5. Can I say 1.5? That's 1.5. And that seems to work. Actually, that looks a lot nicer. Okay, I took a break there. I think I was talking about weight before. Well, I think we've got it pretty much going the way we want. There it is. And now we have 2 buttons at the bottom, Facebook and free login. Let's go to login. We have Facebook account and that. So how do we do that? Well, we can pretty much do what we did with this one, since it's the same. So we copy that linear layout and we paste it, and it appears at the top there. So you use plus on the keypad to move it down the hierarchy to the very bottom, making sure to put it after the other linear layout, like that. As you can see, the way these things are nested helps you to work that out. Well, now we want to fix that weight from before, because I think these do want 50-50. And we want to get rid of the text view, because these are both buttons. So delete that, and now you've got one image button. Copy that and paste it. So then you've got 2. Now you just want to find the images for these 2 things. So you go to your assets again. That's my Facebook, not yours. And you take the 2 top ones and copy them. And what I wanted to say before was when you copy them and paste them from the iPhone, they always have this @ symbol. Any ats or special symbols or capitals even will mess up Android, unfortunately. You can't even have directories in here, so you've got to. It kind of gets messy, and I don't know why they've done it like that. But there you go. I've renamed them, so they should work. One's called FB, and one's called free FB login. Yeah. So refresh the resources. Again, any of these beeps you hear is people trying to talk to me. Right. And this is better with a double monitor. You can always have one window open with all your other stuff and the GUI trying to copy or build. Right, now we want to change the source, so we click that, then we go FB should do it. That's not doing it today. what was it, button? BG underscore, okay, BG underscore, right, so that's the Facebook button. And there's no text on mine. I don't know why they've given me that without text on, but I guess we'll deal with that later. No point in getting bogged down in it. And now we'll do the other one. Here. Type BG and click the free one. And again, there's no text on that. Now, I think it's because they want to, in this silly, these Facebook noises, they want to internationalize it later or something. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. It looks quite good. We've got the 2 buttons there, and now we want to move this down quite a bit. So how do we do that? Let's take away the padding first. Now that linear layout is quite big because the height is set to wrap content and has a weight. Yeah. Sometimes you have to experiment, and I try the gravity, but I always get a bit confused. So click bottom there. So you would think that would make them buttons go to the bottom. To try it on here. There's a bit of trial and error in this, even when you know what you're doing. Well, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I've done a lot of these GUIs, and I was very confused at the beginning, but it gets better. Okay, so gravity did work there. Personally, I think that it shouldn't have worked because it should be the parent you set the gravity on, not the thing, but anyway, it works. And now we want a gap between them. Now how do we go about that? Well, there's a number of ways you could do that. I'd probably be tempted to just do some padding on the right of this one of 5 dp, and then let's say 10 dp, and then also do it on the left of the other one, 10 dp. Keep them the same so we know it's the right size. That doesn't look quite enough, does it? So let's change that to 20. Change that one to 20. And now you can see it's actually ruining the image. The image is moving off the left, so we don't want that actually. So how else can we do it? Well, that looks fine actually, but no, does that look fine? And you can check. You can really check by zooming in and that, or you click this one. And it shows you a real size. Let's move this out of the way. So I don't know if that looks bad. No, I think that looks fine actually. No, not quite. So what I'm going to do here is probably cheat a little bit, or what might be cheating. Oops, I've just undone the padding on the wrong thing there. As you can see, that was the effect of taking away 30 dp on the main linear. Put it back. Now this could be seen as cheating a little bit, but that's what coding is all about really. Maybe we could just put something in between them that is invisible but has some padding, and for that use something simple like I'll just stick another layout in maybe. Stick that between them, and you put don't make sure it's got no weight, otherwise it's going to really mess them up. So there's a nice gap there, but when you click onto the editor it will disappear because the linear layout's empty. So what you want to do is just give it padding of let's just give it 20 dp. To go to weight, I guess. This is getting a bit silly. It shouldn't be this hard to do this. I think it's because of the way. Right, I'm going to try this again with padding on the image buttons. So padding to the left of that, let's see, 20 dp. And to the right of that, 20 dp. And then we'll change the scaling type. I think that would fix the issue of the image going off the edge here, you see. It's not got that border around it, so we need to go to find scaling. Let's have a look. Oh, there it is, scale type. It's quite hard to find things in this sometimes. As you can see, it's slow and a bit tedious, but it's not bad. Let's just say fit center, see what that does. Yeah, that's worked. It has changed the way it scales it so it's not off the edge. Now the padding I've got on the wrong side here. That should have been on the right side. So move that over. And we'll do the same for this button. So that should be actually on the left. And we'll change its scale type to fit center as well. So does that look right? Now it looks too big, the gap, so you just take that 10, change that 10 on both of them things. I just thought I thought the recording had stopped. It said it was not playing, so I was looking for that. So all that silence was weird. Anyway, if anyone's still watching at this point, the padding is 10 now, and my PC's playing up. I should have rebooted. I left it on like when I went away for a few days, even. Well, I think that looks fine, really. The gap. Put them side by side and make them the right size just so we can see any differences. That looks pretty good. No, I think that is basically it. Welcome. Yep. Oh, they have hints in theirs inside the text fields, text areas. And whoa, the button has got cut off. I didn't notice that, but I think that's the scaling type again, so we can scale type fit center. Yes, that fixes that. Actually, the gap might be a little bit too big between them now, so I'm going to go back up here and change this 1.5 back to 1 just to see what happens. Now that looks maybe a bit nicer. Let's give it 1.1, see what happens. Probably about right there, I think. And maybe that whole thing needs to come down here at the top a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely not level, so we're going to bring this down a bit and And to do that, you can just go to the padding and increase it. I'll put some padding on the top of like, let's say 50 dp. And that'll knock everything down, which is too far obviously. 20, let's try 20. We compare. Now they look about right now. Now the font looks a bit small on welcome, so I'm going to make that bigger on there. Text size I'm looking for here. There it is. I'm going to try 17 SP, see what happens. Yeah, that's a little bit closer. I'm going to make the other one a bit smaller because I think it is a bit too big at the moment. I'm going to try 11 SP, which has definitely made it smaller. I think that looks about right. Now, let's compare them side by side. Their text fields are considerably smaller than mine. Oh, the mic fell there, so I hope it's still being able to hear me. It's a crappy little mic and I should get a proper one, but it's actually quite hard to find the USB style that I want, would you believe? So their text fields are a bit smaller than mine, but that's because they've applied that image, and I'm going to wait till they tell me to do that before I do it, because they might be okay with the Android native sort of feel. I'm sure they will. In fact, most of these people who order something based on an iPhone thing, they actually don't want you to clone it perfectly. They want you to do it, but make it like sort of as intuitive for Android people as possible, obviously. And even if they don't want that, you should actually advise them to do that. Now I'm going to put the hints in. Text color hint. Where is hint? There it is. I'm just going to put name@email.com, and that should appear. Yeah. And the fonts never look quite as good on Android in my personal opinion, but it looks alright, I guess. Now you need 5 characters here, and it doesn't really matter what you use here, so I'll put XXXXX. Oh, that should be a password field. Interesting how that shows the X's there. It shouldn't really. Maybe it should, I don't know. For now I'm going to put the word password in there, because I think they might be alright with that. I'll tell them that on Android it doesn't natively do that in the hint, and if they have a problem with that, then I'll deal with that later in code or by using Stack Overflow to do it, help me. So it's all done. That's it. It works. Definitely good enough for now. And that is how you take an iOS screenshot of a GUI or a spec document or anything you get given and build it as best you can on Android. And later they'll probably give me a font, and I'll specify the font in the code, and that'll make the font look identical. And if they want, I'll specify the images in there, and that'll be smaller, and it'll look exactly like this. And then I'll put the text on these buttons as well as it becomes available, as I find out why there's no text on the button, etc. Because the Facebook one for sure should just be a button, I would have thought, and I'm not sure what free login is. But that's the basics of it, and that was a 45-minute video. So if you're still here, thanks for watching, and I might do more of these as I do more complicated GUIs, or I might do other ones about coding activities and intents and stuff. If anyone's interested, then they can subscribe and let me know what they think. So goodbye.